Hello.
Hi.
Hi. My name is Gianmarco Soresi. I'm here with my co-host Russell Daniels.
No, I like the whispering.
You like the whispering?
You like yeah.
They, those podcasts that are like for going to sleep.
Yeah.
Like where like the whole thing is ASMR and
Oh yeah.
yeah. We could be that.
There's
no way. You yell, I yell, we all yell.
I have a wheeze laugh that would wake people up.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are joined today by stand-up comedian, writer, performer, podcaster, DeAnne Smith. Welcome to the Downside.
Hi. I'm gonna break us out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, out of the whispering.
Yeah.
I did way back. I did a Voldemort ASMR parody that did well, but like it was comedic. But so like 8 minutes in, I go like, ah! And the number of comments that were like, "Fuck you."
Oh, because they were really
going to sleep to this, and people made re-edits where they took that part out.
Oh,
people love this. People that like ASMR, they love it.
I know. I don't get the tingles. I'm upset about that. Do you guys? Do you know what they're feeling?
I do. Listen, I don't really, but every once in a while, I think I do.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like sometimes there'll be like a joke one happening, or people it gets joked about a lot and stuff. Yeah. And sometimes when it's happening, I'm like, oh, maybe I do like that. Do you know? Not
Where
every
do you feel
time,
the
though.
tingle?
Well, it's like when you get like a scalp massager or something. I feel like is what I feel when it happens.
The dream.
Yeah. So and that's a nice sensation, you know, the scalp.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
thing.
I got that.
Yeah,
octopus.
you do.
You know, you do it once and then you're like, okay, I'm done. One of those things. Are you a good sleeper?
No, not at all.
This is the Downside.
1, 2, 3. Downside.
I know how to set it up.
Yeah, that was really nice.
I could tell you were a bad sleeper the second you walked in
With Gianmarco Soresi.
from one bad sleeper to another.
Wow.
No, my girlfriend was asleep in my room right now. But it doesn't matter. She sleeps so she has night terrors. We talk about it on the podcast a lot, but she wakes up like screaming and then goes right back to sleep. And I am a terrible sleeper. And I feel a level of envy that reaches anger.
Well, yes, but also you would be awoken by these screams, right? So they're not your night terrors, but you are also nightly terrorized. And then if it was me, I would not fall back asleep.
It's really bad. But that Ambien.
You've been liking it.
Yeah, I get scared about it. Have you ever taken Ambien?
No, I'm a little afraid to start drugging because I don't know when I would stop.
Exactly. I had the same fear. And then some doctor, he said the Ambien is supposed to be the non-habit forming version.
Okay.
And I take very little.
Okay.
But like sometimes just that 2.5 milligrams, I break up my 5 milligram pills.
Yes.
That's how scared I am.
Yeah.
And sometimes that just sails me to sleep.
Oh, I love this idea.
Wait, do you have trouble? You have trouble getting to sleep and then staying asleep as well? You have both things?
As I've gotten older, I've had a lot more like waking up at 7s and being like, "Oh no."
Like my taxes.
Yeah. I had the first. I guess this is the downside. My dad had a heart surgery like a month ago, and we had a tough relationship. Blah blah blah. But he's okay now. But I had like a dream of like I was sleeping in my dad's bed at home, and he wasn't there, and I called out for him, and I woke up, tears in my eyes.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I thought, I'm not a big believer, but I thought if he's dead, that was the visit.
Yeah.
And I texted him, and this gets even really sad. I texted him. I had a Comedy Central set come out. It was my first like set on a thing, and I texted him because he doesn't know, he doesn't follow, and I texted him. It was so pathetic. I texted him like the link, like just in case you want to see it. Here's the link. 7 a.m. I thought my dad might be dead. This was my way of checking if he was still alive.
To show him content.
Sent him the link, and he was like, "Oh, he made some joke. He's fine." And then I never heard back if he watched it or not, and that's why I'm the way I am.
Okay, but you got the thing. He responded. He's alive. That's the main thing, right?
But now he's dead to you.
Now he's dead to me. Exactly. I mean, it is. Listen, he's loving in certain ways, but that is. I remember when the Amazon special came out, like a month later, he was like, "I'm gonna watch it right now," and then I never heard from him again.
Yeah.
You know what I've been thinking a lot about?
Yes.
And we're diving right in.
Let's go for it.
I got a dad that's in a nursing home. We've had some conversations recently, and I'll back up and get to it. But I think a lot about what that generation was raised with, what they expected from their parents, what they got from their parents. I mean, he may have watched this, loved it, and just didn't occur to him to tell you that.
Yeah.
Because no one ever told him that when he was a kid or something.
Yeah. I've always, my theory with my dad, I think he's jealous. I think like
Deferred dreams.
because every time, he always talks about the one theater program he did when he was like 14 or whatever. And whenever he's like at a show of mine, and it's not very often, but he'll have ideas. He'll always like have
so
ideas.
sweet.
It's more about that, or he'll
Yeah.
have notes. But like it doesn't. I don't think he's able to like take in comedy. I just think he feels envy.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And maybe he does. I could relate to that. Like if you've had whatever kind of life where you didn't feel free to pursue your dreams.
Yeah.
You raise this kid, you try to give them fucking everything.
Yeah.
They run off and live your dreams.
Yeah.
There's a way of looking at it without bitterness, but I could understand that you'd be like, this fucking
Or he
kid.
doesn't find me funny, which
Yeah.
is all, like I don't think he's not a stand up. He's not watching a lot of stand up.
Yeah.
Like that'd be one thing if he's like
Yeah.
he's got a list of 100 comics.
But
and
didn't
I
you
don't make
mention he took you to stand up stuff?
He took me to
here
stand-up
when-
stuff, but, like,
when
he's-
you were younger.
Yeah, he took me to like Dangerfields, like
That's
a late
cool.
night show.
That's
Yeah.
very cool.
And the MC, at least in my mind at the time, was like 80 years old, and she was talking about accidentally putting Novocaine in her clit. And I was like, there was some guy. There's. I mean, when you're
you think
when
that
you're
story
that
was
age,
real?
it's so magical.
Yeah.
It's so there was some guy, and the whole act out was like. He thought, his neighbors were making macaroni, but it was clear from the sounds he was hearing fingering.
Oh, yeah,
And when
yeah.
you're 13, though, you're
yeah.
like, this is the greatest
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I miss those days.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Ralphie May at Caroline's. I was like 15, and I came in and he was showing all his different fingering techniques. And it's like a 15-year-old, like, this is the pinnacle of comedy.
Yeah, I
This
mean,
is the pinnacle.
it's taboo. It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's
I'm there
possibly
with my mom.
information for you.
Yes. Yes. And it was bad information. I think he had like one like the frog.
Oh god.
And so luckily I never tried that one out.
Wow.
Well, for those just tuning in, this is The Downside. As you can tell, negative podcast. We talk about sad things. We complain, but in a fun way.
In a fun way.
In a fun way. You're trying to pivot this
Celebrate.
podcast into like the celebration podcast.
I don't feel like we're overly negative people. I think, but we like talking about dark things
Yes.
Yeah.
in a fun, in a celebratory way.
Yeah. And so, and if you're a fan, check out the Patreon. You get early episodes, bonus episodes. That's patreon.com/downside. Before we get to you, DeAnne.
Yes.
And I we'll talk about your dad, but I'm trying to figure out. So, how long have you been in New York now?
Barely. So we
Barely.
moved to New York I came screeching into New York in my car in July, and then I've been kind of on the road and finally settled into our new place. And I would also love to talk about what a shithole of a sublet I had. Settled into our new place in October.
When you started saying that, I thought you were about to say, I don't know if you, what a shithole this city is. And I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I showed
welcome.
up
Welcome to our home.
just immediately negative because I think that's how you fit in New York. What is
That is
this?
true.
The
That
traffic
makes
and the
sense.
fucking people.
So I've been working at the Comedy Cellar, and I can walk home from there, and I really like that walk. It's getting a little
It's a
chilly.
nice walk.
But I was walking home the other night, and I'm pretty sure there was a homeless man in he's in the middle of a intersection.
Yes.
And he's lying down,
Yes.
and he's like, I'm suicidal, I'm gonna kill myself. And even looking at it, I'm like, you don't seem suicidal. This seems like a ploy.
Which is its own. A cry for help is legitimate.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
a cry for help.
Yes.
Sure. But I see it. I'm walking home. I'm like, I should have taken the subway. Because I see it, and I'm like, I gotta talk to this guy
Why?
because he's in the middle of the cross
Oh,
section.
you're just. I thought you were like.
Oh, I thought you were, like-
going up, and you were like gonna like start like the conversation.
No, but he's just in the middle of the cross. I'm the
Yeah.
only one walking, and he's like, I'm gonna
Oh,
kill
okay.
myself. I'm
Got
gonna
you,
kill
got you.
myself.
Okay.
And so I say, please come out of the road. And then he said, can I have money? And I look in my wallet, and all I have, the smallest I have, is a $10 bill.
Oh.
And I give him the 10. Because now I feel like I can't not give him
Yeah,
anything.
Yeah.
But I'm talking to other comedians down the line, and they're like, "Oh, that guy, yeah, that's his thing. He goes in the intersection, lies down. This is not like a highway. No car's gonna hit
Yeah.
him.
Honestly, smart though. Like,
Very. I mean,
Very
it's
smart.
like. If you're gonna have a thing, it's like a very. I mean,
I admire his hustle, and I would happily pay a $10 to $20 "don't kill yourself" tax when I walk by that guy.
But I'm pretty sure we had a friend who helped someone out of the street years ago.
Oh,
I think it's the same guy.
yeah. Oh yeah,
I think this
forgot
guy's
about
doing
that.
it everywhere.
Wow.
That was a totally different part of town.
But like, so if I
yeah.
see him again,
That's a gamble, though. I love it. He is essentially, he's appealing to people's good nature. He trusts that the people around care enough about other human beings that they're going to help him out.
Well, what if he's taught this to other people too? It could be like he was the mentor thing of it, you know?
oh my God.
That there's like a franchise.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
He's taking a cut. Well, it's not just the good person thing, but it also is, admittedly, I'm like, oh, if other people saw me talk to him, because like, he's like, no, I'm going to kill myself. And now I'm investing time. But I'm like, if people see me now walk away, I'm even worse. I'm now thinking about other people looking at me.
Yeah.
And my question is, what if I see him again next time to go, oh, yeah, you didn't kill yourself. You're fine, and walk? Or do I keep giving him money? Do I just need to get some more dollar bills so I can get out of this? Well, consider it a tax, but a smaller tax.
I think it's worth it to carry around dollar bills. This is what I've discovered in the city, because I recently gave someone $20 because it was the smallest thing I had.
What was
you
their?
gasped.
What was
they were just
20
like,
is a lot of money.
I just had it, and I so rarely have cash, and they were like, "Can you help me out?" And I don't care what they're going to spend it. Like, you know what I mean?
No.
That's how soft the pitch was. Can you help me out?
Yeah,
that's how easy
but they
you
were
are to
really
woo, right?
like, they weren't looking good, and they did need help. And whether or not they wanted that $20 to, I mean, they started going to this thing that I know isn't true, and I don't care, right? Like, I need $10 to stay with my friend because and I'm like, you know what? Here, whatever you need it for, you clearly need it. So yeah, I handed it over, and then they started crying, which was uncomfortable because it wasn't about that. It was just like,
wow.
I do consider it a bit of a humanity tax. Like, I would rather make eye contact with someone, acknowledge them, give them something even small, even if it's $1, to just be like, I see you. I see that you're struggling. It fucking sucks.
Yes.
You know?
I don't disagree. I think, though, being in New York as long as I have...
You'd be spending too much money?
Well, sometimes you walk home and you get approached by 5 different people.
It's less
and you're
about
like,
the
I
money.
Can't give money to
it's
everybody.
less about the money.
But you can if you have $1. Just $1.
Sure.
Yes. I think you can definitely have some things. I rarely have any cash, but I sometimes have change. But I do have cash right now. But I was gonna say the thing. There's a component though that is there's some days where it's really hard to be that present, like you feel like
to other
if
people
I'm that
suffering.
present.
Yeah.
Which is a horrible thing to feel and say.
Well,
but living in New York, you're like, there
exactly.
are some days where you're like, I'm on the verge of a thing. I like literally like, and I have headphones that are noise canceling, and I will close my eyes on the subway, like because just out of nothing's even happened, no one's even gotten on yet.
Yeah.
But being like, if I just close my eyes till my stop, I didn't see it. I didn't, you know, like that kind of thing. It's just awful to say.
This is my theory about the city, and I really just got here. But maybe it's not even that interesting. But there's just so many people that you inevitably are going to run into every day. If you're just out in the world, you're going to run into some serious crazy. You're going to run into suicidal. Like when the other day I was driving, I hate driving in the city because there's just everyone's doing their own rules. Everyone thinks their thing is the most important.
Yes.
And I do feel that I encounter at least like 3 people every time I'm driving for more than 30 minutes that have like a death wish. Yeah. Like they just kind of like, good luck, everybody. I'm going to do whatever. I was driving. It wasn't a highway, but it was like at least 2 lanes going pretty quickly. It wasn't like a little side street or anything. And this guy was walking, clearly not doing well, walking toward my car in the lane, not on the median, not on anything, just strolling down the street where I'm maybe doing like 30, 40 miles an hour. It was horrifying. I laid on the horn, which I never do. I like, because I just was like, dude, wake up, like you're in the street. This is a problem. I felt like I was going to kill that guy. And then when I didn't kill that guy, I kind of wanted to kill that guy for scaring me so much. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I'm always amazed that in a city of 9 million or whatever it is, or in like 1 million people taking the subway, I'm like, the fact that in the 10 years I've lived here, nothing truly, like I've not been hit in the face like on the subway. I'm like, for the amount of people, I'm like, generally everyone's doing the best that they can, and like you're obviously seeing people in mental health crisis every day and in different things.
That's what it's called.
But you're like, the thing is like, you're like, for the most part, I'm like, people are doing a pretty good job. We're not like I've not been bloodied on the subway yet. Knock on wood.
I've seen it.
Watch, they're going to play this tape when I'm murdered. But yeah.
Thank you for saying mental health crisis, because as I was like, you see crazy. I'm like, I know I'm not supposed to say that anymore, but I
always screw up.
I haven't replaced the words mental health crisis.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm not
Good.
always the best.
I'm teaching you well.
Yeah.
I've been giving him lessons on how to do it.
No, crazy is that is one that always I think that's the one that happens the most.
Yeah.
I say insane a lot too in not great way. You
But
know, like
also,
I'll be like that's
words-
insane.
Words can still mean things, right?
right,
Like,
right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I still think crazy can be used sometimes. I'm cognizant very much as like a man to when I'm calling if it's a woman I'm
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about, I'm always
Yeah.
cognizant of being like, okay, but there are some crazy people.
I mean,
or does this word not exist
here's
anymore?
the thing.
Crazy is a word.
Yeah.
Crazy bitches don't like being called crazy bitches.
That's what you always say, Russell.
Please put it in his
Yeah,
mouth.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just though, I remember one thing with asking for money. I remember once I took a Soul Cycle class and I left my wallet at the studio and it had closed. And it was one of those situations where I needed money, but I'm dressed in kind of a nice sweatpant outfit,
Yeah.
and it just. I don't think I could even ask anyone. This was before Uber was on phones or whatever. This was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But one of those feelings of no one's giving me money. How could I sometimes someone approaches me in a button down and they're
Yeah.
like, hey, I need money. I'm like, yeah, you're fine, buddy.
Yeah.
No.
But I feel like if you went with that exact story, it's so believable.
Yeah.
And it's so specific and almost embarrassing. Like, oh, excuse me, I was just in my Soul Cycle class
Yeah.
and I left my wallet. And
Yeah.
It'd be sad if they
$2.75.
gave it to me and not there's one guy in the subway with no legs, no arms. I'm like, give him all the money.
Yeah.
How's he gonna hold it?
All right. That would have been a good intro to the
That
town
would've been a good
let's talk about you.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that you were born in America first.
Born in America.
American born.
A true American.
A real American.
And that's why you're on the podcast.
I love Russell's reactions. Everything we just met, and you're like, "What? America?"
I didn't know they were American.
The reason Russell is that because we got here today and Russell's like, who's the guest today? So
Yeah.
everything's a surprise for Russell today.
I know. I don't always look ahead. I mean, you do research. I
do everything.
You do all the work.
This is a serendipitous meeting for
Yeah,
us.
yeah,
Yeah, right. So I started comedy in Canada.
Start a comedy kid, but
I was born in the United States of America.
yes.
And then I started comedy in Canada, and then I traveled so often to Australia, and those were my first big gigs on TV and
Yeah.
stuff. And at one point, they were like, Canadian comic, and I just didn't correct them because I was truly my first gig, and I was
Yeah.
just wide-eyed and yeah, Canada. Plus, it was the Bush years. I didn't mind that misunderstanding.
Sure.
And now it's now.
Where in America were you born and how long were you there?
I was born in upstate New York, not far from
Oh,
here. I will
me
be
too.
Where,
But way upstate, 3 hours north, near Binghamton.
buddy?
Yeah.
My hometown is Endicott, New York.
Oh my God.
What's your hometown?
Bainbridge, New York. Very small town,
Yeah.
but 30 minutes away from Endicott.
I mean, I've heard of Bainbridge, and I've probably driven
Wow.
through it.
Crazy.
I'm going there later today.
Oh my God. Wow.
If we were at a party right now, I would have walked away at this point.
Oh, Endicott. Do you ever go? Wait, you're going? Do you have family there?
Yeah,
still?
so my dad is in a nursing home in Binghamton, New York.
Oh.
And I do always, you do what I do. This is the tiny towns we're from. You have to position
It's
it
smaller
to
and
whatever. I'm
smaller.
like, have you heard of Ithaca? Have you heard of Binghamton?
Yeah.
Maybe you've heard of Syracuse. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's
And then
so
we zero
funny.
in on the spot.
Syracuse, close?
It's about an hour and a half
yeah,
north,
okay.
but that's close.
Yeah, I mean, my parents are season ticket holders for Syracuse.
Can they help me out? I'm doing the Funny Bone in Syracuse.
Oh, I don't. They don't
I have to
a
sell
lot
100
of
tickets or
connections.
they're allowed to cancel it.
Really?
They
That's
don't.
that's on them to sell tickets.
Yeah.
Have a club that sells 100 tickets, you jackasses.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to be there, Syracuse, please.
I'm sure Syracuse is listening.
No, it's not one of these. It's just one of these, you know. I'm
I
not on
know.
Netflix, DeAnne. We're at a different scale.
As
I'll
if-
tell my friends from upstate.
Yeah.
They have kids and stuff. I don't know. It's a drive.
Bring the
Wait,
kids.
it's
I
from
need all
Binghamton.
the people there I can get.
I know you're scared and you do need all the people there, but can we just back up for what a bullshit industry comedy is?
Sure.
You're running a club. You should run a club
Yeah.
that you book talent that people trust, and you can sell 100 tickets to whatever show you're doing. That's their job, really, more than yours. And I know we've all been duped, and we all think it's supposed to be us. And ideally, yes.
I think it'll go back to that. I think right now it's leaning on, obviously there's these people out there who can move these seats like crazy.
Of course.
But they're going to start to, my theory, and I think it's already happening, they're going to start demanding, A, they're going to start moving to bigger theaters, so they're not going to do the
Yeah.
clubs anymore. And B, they're going to start demanding, insane door deals and then a cut of the drinks. And eventually these clubs will go, you know what, we need to reestablish people coming here for our taste The clubs have leaned on big names coming in.
I know.
As opposed to being like, people know to come to the Cellar because it's like, it's going to be a good show. And there might be famous people there.
Right.
But I think a lot of clubs kind of just gave up on that as, that's what
I just think it's bullshit, and I'm putting it out there.
I don't disagree. It's bullshit.
And I think you will move those 100 tickets. That's definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
Syracuse,
I appreciate
New
it.
York.
How many seats do they have? Like how many?
I don't know. I'm sure it's probably like 300 or something.
Yeah.
But I started. I headlined Caroline's this weekend. I had like 2 weeks
that's
notice.
fun.
It was like someone dropped out or died.
But that's fine.
Tragically.
Yeah.
But I started using Facebook ads. I put a lot of money into like Facebook ads for the first time, and I think it paid off.
Really
once.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So to talk to me about Binghamton.
Binghamton.
I've heard of Binghamton. Your place I always forget. What is it called?
Bainbridge.
Bainbridge.
New
It's
York.
very
So
small.
how
I
long?
feel like I had friends there that from university or something. Is it like on the way to Ithaca, near Ithaca?
So I don't know from Binghamton how you would. I don't really know directions that well, but it's like 45 minutes from Ithaca.
Yes, as
Yeah.
is my hometown.
Yeah.
Okay.
How long were you there for?
Until university. Then I went to Alfred, New York. Alfred University in Alfred, New York. It's very tiny.
What year?
What year? I graduated before 2000. Don't make me say it out loud.
We missed a lot because I had friends that went to Alfred, but would have been a little later.
It's so
It's
lovely.
called Alf. That's strange. That's usually
it's like-
universities are like someone's last name,
I
and
know.
Alfred is like.
I don't know what this situation is, but I can tell you that the town literally has one stoplight.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. And it's adorable. Like
Yeah.
the campus is what you would hope from a little liberal arts.
It felt kind of artsy.
Yeah.
I've visited a couple times. It felt a little more artsy than some of the other.
It's so
those kind
sweet.
of-
It's like
yeah.
exactly the sort of place where like you have dinner at your professor's house and that sort of thing. Very fun.
How many people per grade?
I feel like the whole university only had like 2,000 people,
Okay.
so it's tiny.
Yeah.
Yes. So are we doing what we're doing? My trajectory, and then
Well, I'm just. Tell me about Binghamton. Did you like Binghamton? Did it suck? What I mean,
I think
you've
it's kinda
traveled
cute
the
now.
world now, and you
have
grew up in
traveled the
this wonderful upstate New York.
Listen, upstate.
Russell's stories about here's. Let me give my impression.
No,
It's
I want to be nice because I do have friends that listen from
But
upstate.
sure, but
Yeah.
I'm not making fun of it. I was saying like the impression I get from it is like there's a Dunkin' Donuts, there's a diner, and there's a bar.
Here's the
and
thing.
that's
There's
it.
a little. It's
Yeah.
a little different.
And
yes.
there's no diversity and there's
Well-
no culture.
No, for sure. But I think the thing is too is like Binghamton's a little bigger than the small town that I was actually from. So
Yeah.
I wasn't spending like a lot of my youth in Binghamton,
Binghamton's
which
kind
is
of
like the city,
a big city.
Yeah, but Binghamton's more like the suburbs. It's like it has a mall and it has like the things that all the places in America have.
But
you
yeah,
know?
RE diversity. I can tell you that when I was growing up, my town is so friggin' white that like diversity would be like Italians.
Yeah,
It would be like, oh, this is the Italian neighborhood.
for sure.
That's what was going on in Endicott, New York.
Did you go to Union Endicott High School?
I did.
Okay.
This is fascinating.
Wow, it is.
So what's it like? It's actually it's kind of sad at the moment because this is a question I always have about small towns and about America in general is like what happens or how do you bring a town back after industry leaves? Because that's what's going like Endicott used to have IBM. That's like where everybody's dad worked, not mine, but IBM was there and that was like kind of the driver of the town. That's gone, and the place has fallen to shit.
When did it go?
I mean, it's like
Disrepair,
just
beyond.
big factories. Like, and also my hometown, Bainbridge, was the home, and this is further back. This died before IBM fell, but my hometown, Bainbridge, was the home of Elmer Glue. So there's this giant
Right.
factory in the center of our town that has been vacant probably most of my life. So like for 30-ish or so, maybe more years. But it's just like this decaying factory in the center of this small town that was like. It was like what people probably did, and then it's just like decades of like that's gone,
Yeah.
and there's not really
It's just
been a
empty now?
replacement of anything.
Just a big empty
of
warehouse?
industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And when did IBM leave?
I don't
The
know.
90s,
Yeah,
right?
probably
Like,
the 90s.
yeah.
Did your parents work for IBM?
No, my dad actually worked for a shoe company called Endicott Johnson Shoe Company, which is how our town gets its name, how neighboring Johnson City gets its name. And this is actually pretty cute. So there's this guy called Endicott Johnson. Back in the day where a white man could just show up and go, I'm called Endicott, this whole place is called Endicott. What's up?
Alfred University.
But kind of a fun thing about that guy is the shoe company used to be huge and like early, like well before my dad's time, but like in the early 1900s, there's these arches over certain streets in the town, like these stone arches that say "Home of the Square Deal." So that was like the idea is like we're giving you a square deal, and then there's all these carousels like merry-go-rounds. There's at least like 6 of them all around Binghamton and Endicott, and they were erected by Endicott Johnson Shoe Company. His whole thing was like, I want workers to come work for me, and I want them to be happy, and I want their kids to have fun stuff to do in their off time, and like trying to create this whole happy worker situation,
like a Henry Ford type thing,
like a Henry Ford type thing, and so. Yeah, Endicott, New York is also carousel capital of the United States.
It is.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Do they have the brass ring?
I don't know what that is.
So there's a thing with carousels where you've ever heard the phrase you like grab the brass ring or something? That's about, I'm pretty sure, there was like carousels and you reach for a ring as you like go around.
Fun.
And I think like at some point like the brass one and you want to get the brass one.
And then you get a prize or something?
Yeah, something like that.
That's cool. No.
Have you ridden any of these carousels?
I have, but there's no brass ring.
No.
You're also, I know we were meant to complain, but now I'm reminded of all this sweet stuff. One of the carousels in Binghamton, the Binghamton Zoo, I think, in order to get on, the price of admission was a piece of litter. How cute is that?
Oh.
You pick up a little piece of litter and then you put it in the garbage can.
And the
they let you
Binghamton
on.
Zoo still exists. My mom and my nephews went recently.
What kind of
Really? I can only
Yeah.
imagine.
What
It's
animals are
not
there? Like a
good.
couple deer?
I don't.
Yeah.
And like some old gorillas,
Some wolves.
like chiseled
Yeah.
gorillas that have been around since the 80s. No, I don't. It is a thing though where
It's just one dead gorilla in the middle and they keep it there.
I struggle because it's like I don't want to be mean like it's like most of my family, so many of my good friends still live in the area, but it is this thing where and sometimes I'll go and they'll be like, oh, there's a new thing that's opened, but it's mainly like a restaurant thing or like someone starts up like a craft cocktail thing or craft brewery. There is a new brewery that's doing really well in the area, and it's they have like 4 locations now, and that was like
That's great.
a big deal for that. Like they opened it up at the mall now, and it's like but it is a thing of like it used to have these like big industry things, and then that's been gone, and so there's a void there.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
So you went to Alfred. What did you study at Alfred?
I studied writing and women's studies, and that was it pretty much. I didn't have a lot of vision back then, but it checks out.
And then how did Canada happen?
Well, before Canada, I went to Baltimore. Again, I hadn't started comedy, so I didn't like find my thing, and I had no real driving
Were you funny?
force in my life. I'd like to think so. I do remember I had a girlfriend in Baltimore at some point that was like, almost like in a mean way, it was like, you think you're funny, don't you? And I was like, of course I do. Like if I was saying all this shit and I didn't think I was funny, I would just be obnoxious. Like, yes, I think I'm funny. I picked Baltimore because we were just like sitting around at university, and I was like, I think I'm going to move to Boston. I really like Boston. And then my friend EJ was like, well, I'm going to Johns Hopkins. Just come to Baltimore. And I was like, all right. So I was in Baltimore for a year. Then I went to Mexico to kind of teach English and bum around. I was there for most of my 20s because what I didn't realize when I moved there was like the amount of momentum it takes to move to a new country. It will eventually take that amount of momentum to get back. It just became my life.
We're in Mexico. I don't know a lot, but
I was in a few spots. So I was in initially I went to Puerto Vallarta, like on the beach. Then I went to San Cristobal, Chiapas, which was like essentially a low intensity war zone in the south of the country. Because I had a different girlfriend, not the one who you think you're so funny, but in Baltimore who was like trying to get to Mexico, and I was like, listen, just wherever you get to, if you get a job or something, I'll just move there. So she was doing like NGO work, and we lived
you said
there.
it was a low key war zone?
Yeah, it was So in 1994, that town had been taken over by the Zapatista army.
Oh my God.
Which was like kind of exciting for them.
It's a great time to be
I mean, good for them. So there was like a lot of tension between kind of like the indigenous population around there, and then more like essentially white Mexicans or people with power in government, and so much crazy shit happened there, which we could come back and return to in a second. And then I moved to Canada in 2005.
And this war zone, were you ever scared? Was it ever scary?
Oh, it was really scary all the time.
What happened? Was anything that you almost were scared for your life?
Well, okay, just in general, let me back
and
up.
you were teaching still.
I was teaching English for such a low wage that like friends in the United States would make fun of me because they were kind of like, do you need me to like mail you $25 a week because I can do that? I mean, like the hourly wage was unreal. We were so I was going to say we were so poor, and I guess, yeah, we kind of were. But it was lovely in many ways. What was scary about it? Just in general, there's a lot of like armed guards and presence in Mexico in a way that I wasn't used to.
Like with their hand, like the big guns.
Yeah, really just like going into the bank or like, you take a
much.
bus somewhere and then like I don't know if they're military, paramilitary, I don't know what they are, but you take a bus. It's like 2 a.m. It stops somewhere. All these guys with guns get on, look around, and then they get off. And you're like, okay, like, but you never really understand what's going on.
You don't even know what branch they're part of. Is this police? Is this army? Is this independent?
Yeah. So that's a bit scary. And then while we were there, a lot of scary stuff happened. This is my friend's story, really, but a friend of ours, we used to go running by this river, and it was like really, lovely, just like mountains, river. We'd see like women in the river, like doing their laundry, beating it on rocks, the old-fashioned way, kids running around. It's all happening. And one day my friend went by herself, went running, and like almost got kidnapped, but didn't. So she was running back, and then she got, these people came up from behind her, like grabbed her by the neck and started dragging her towards this car. But she had enough fight in her and her adrenaline was up, and she just like fought them off and kept running. But it was pretty common at that time for women and also like white women foreigners to get abducted. So who knows what could have happened to her in the end. That was horrifying.
Yeah.
I have nowhere to land that except you guys are just looking like really scared and stunned.
Well, so what made you then go to Canada?
These sort of things happened. Okay, listen. We're now the central theme of my life, which is that I'll just follow girls around.
Sure. We all have our guiding light.
So I had a different girlfriend, and we were hanging out, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm actually going to mime school in Montreal."
And was she?
So you met in Mexico.
We met in Mexico.
Okay. Was she born in Mexico?
Yeah, she's Mexican.
She's Mexican.
So then I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go to Montreal.
And she's going to mime school.
Yeah. Moved to Montreal.
I moved to Montreal, and then that's where I started comedy. That's where I discovered I have preferences in my own dreams.
Yeah.
And then I had a path and a thing to do, and it's less about following girls, although I still follow girls a little bit.
And you married this woman, right?
I married this woman. I married this Mexican mime.
Yeah.
In order to immigrate to Canada.
Now, how did? But she was Mexican though. So how did that help you get into Canada?
That's how lovely Canada is and how liberal Canada is. Because she was a permanent resident of Canada. She had done all that paperwork. Because she was also an engineer, and so they were just like, "You're young, you're Mexican, you're an engineer. Get on in here. Yeah, you're a mime.
You got all the.
We need more of you." Especially Quebec.
I'm a mime. My backup plan is engineering.
Yeah.
So she got in because of that.
Yeah.
And you married just so you could go with her.
In some ways, yes. I don't want to act like we didn't have a real relationship because
how long had you been together though?
2 years, a year.
2 years. Okay.
Not long. I mean, neither one of us are or were like the marrying types. I stand by. I think you should get married. You should involve the government when the government needs to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the government needed to be involved.
I have no problem with a marriage for paperwork. Marriage for love is where my qualms
that
are.
makes no sense to me. Yeah.
But paperwork, of course.
Yeah.
Exploit the system.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Insurance.
Yeah, so that was interesting. So we did it, and then literally the next day I was a little bit like, I think that was a mistake.
How deep, how long were you in Canada when you were like, this is a mistake?
We'd been in Canada for a few months, I think.
And
I
you
just
were
meant the marriage, but then it all of a sudden seemed serious in a way. But she's such a chill person, and she was very much like, well, if you think it's a mistake, we'll just undo it. It's not a big deal.
That's very chill.
Yeah, and then we hung out for like a year, and then I was like, yeah, I think we need to undo it.
Yeah. So there's no sort of situation there where you're like having to like. I mean, you were together, so you wouldn't have to pretend. Like sometimes on sitcoms when people get married,
right.
things, and they're like visiting, and you're like having to make up.
No.
So there was no sort of like checking in on the fact that you guys
No, it was a real relationship.
Yeah,
and it was
yeah,
easy
yeah.
to make it look like a real relationship.
Was it intense? Were they asking questions?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Also, because especially if you're immigrating to Canada and you've been married, I think it's less than 2 years, they want to make sure it's a real relationship. So they ask for a lot of shit. They ask like friends to write letters, like attesting to your relationship. They want pictures of you guys together. Ideally, they want pictures of you also like with your family. Like they want to see that you're integrated in each other's lives. And it's not just the two of you being like, we're married.
Yeah.
Those are all pretty easy things to recreate, though. I mean, even if
They
I were
could
faking
be.
it.
Well, what are they
They
going to
could
ask
be.
you? Like sex tape?
But they
Well,
do.
I thought like I'd heard stories about like in America where they're like they'll come to the apartment and they'll be like, "Where's their toothbrush?"
Oh, wow.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I'm just saying
It's
pictures are
possible.
easy to recreate.
It's possible to recreate, but they also want like a timeline of your relationship and all this kind of stuff. You could fake it probably, but it'd be scary at the point at which if they call you in for interviews and they separate you and stuff
Yeah.
like that, it could get...
I know someone that this is crazy. I'm not gonna say their names, but
Good.
I had so this is a friend's roommate, not anymore, but like years ago. One of my friend's roommates was offered $10,000 to marry a stripper, so that she could get her everything.
Where was
And
she
he-
from?
And he did. I don't remember.
Oh, yeah.
But he did it, and it was like a year process of like being around and together and that sort of thing. But it was like there was a financial thing that
I'd do it for the
Yeah.
story. 10,000.
I feel like I'd do it not for the money, like
Yeah.
just to hang out if she was cool.
yeah
I'd do it like an arranged marriage. Let's hope
Yeah.
this works out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because $10,000 in some ways almost isn't enough.
yeah. Maybe it was more.
Well, it depends how many checkups
maybe
we're
I'm
doing.
misremembering.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if I'm just making up this whole thing? I really have a memory of it. And I'm gonna ask my friend though for the full details.
Have him on the bottom.
Yeah, I will.
So when you got divorced, was there any fear of like Canada's going to be like, what the fuck?
No, you'd think, but once you're in, you're in. But also, it was fascinating when we got divorced because I had just started comedy. I was making almost no money, and also I wasn't legally allowed to make money for a lot of it because I was in Canada, but hadn't gotten my permanent residency yet. So I
I've
was
heard
just
that
kind of
with like
there as-
trying to tour Canada. Like
Yeah.
it can be complicated.
So I was just there as like a visitor, you know. So I was making money, but it was all off the books. And then when we got divorced, they're so fair about everything that they kept going like, so you get half of her money, right? And I was like, yeah, no, that's okay. I don't need half of
And
her
she brings
money.
out her imaginary mom money. Here you go.
Empties her pockets, turns them inside out. Yeah, so they said, and I was like, no, that's fine. And then the paper went through, and then I got like a letter later. They weren't processing it because they couldn't believe. They were just like, no. But look, you make this much, and she makes this much, and you're saying you're not going to take half of this? And I was like, no. So it took a little minute to process just because they couldn't understand that I was
you
like,
didn't
she
want.
should keep everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was nice.
Yeah.
Are you still friends?
Yeah.
Is she miming?
She is teaching mime now, so she's really moved on.
That's
We're
the
moved
highest level
forward.
of mime.
I think
is
it
to
is.
then
Yeah.
teach it.
Is she though, or is she just alone in her apartment pretending she has students? And now,
I like mimes. I respect it tremendously.
When do you see mimes?
There was a group in New York called something.
And you went to a lot of shows. Or,
I saw
or-
them once at a showcase thing, and they were very
Okay.
good.
I'm not doubting it. I'm just saying, like, I feel like we have a limited experience of
yeah.
mimery.
As in,
I just
Yeah.
I
Is that-
admire
is
those
that the
people
term?
who do clown school. You sort of, recently they said like in Ireland there was a shortage of clowns, and I'm like, clearly these industries can exist. They exist somewhere. There's countries that support this kind of
Yeah.
art.
No, I
In America, I don't know
agree.
where.
can
you'd
I
make
tell
this
you?
a
I'm going
mime.
to tell you about the two most moving mime pieces I've ever seen.
Okay,
Please.
And I wish I could remember.
Feel free to do 3.
I can only think of two. I wish I could remember who did this, but this is such as the art form of mime. We don't know. We don't know
Yeah.
who these people are. The first one was just like an incredible commentary. This was at least like 15 years ago. And this woman did this whole thing about like walking in high heels and what it is to be a woman walking in high heels. And it was incredible and like very precise and interesting, and you felt like, oh, I'm understanding something about sexism even, and different expectations of men and women in the world and how they dress. And that was one thing. And then this other one was this woman, I can kind of almost do it, where she did this whole thing. It was truly incredible. she did a thing where like she made her leg from the knee to the foot like be a baby. This was like, it was clear. So, and I can't even
like a
do
rocking,
it.
like she's holding it.
Yeah,
Like,
but I can't even do it because my muscles here aren't strong enough. But first, this thing's like jumping around, like being a little baby, like asking for something. And the thing is, you believe it. Like you get invested in this leg as a baby. And then, yeah, she's cradling it and helping it out. And then it's like jumping around, whatever. And then at some point she smacks it like, hey, you're bothering me now. And that's it. You feel it. Oh, no. You feel it like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you hit our little friend. Like, you know, they just wanted to be held and loved, you know? And it's like, then it occurs to you that like, you're just watching this woman's leg and you've so invested in it as a character.
wow.
And then also the like precision and the muscle control and just the imagination. Also,
Does it just end with the hit and then?
no, I think then she's cradling the baby. I mean, it was just this whole story, but I remember the hit because I was kind of like everybody felt it, and it's like, but it's just this woman's own body. What is happening? And so that was really cool, like to see people actually doing it. Also, the courage. I mean, you know how hard it is to like get up on stage, especially if it's like a cold stage or something, right? You're hosting or you're just the first one out, but saying words into a microphone is pretty freaking normal. To like get out there and have enough confidence in yourself and belief in yourself to be like, I am going to have all of you fall in love with my leg as a baby.
Yeah.
Let's go. Because if you're not pulling that off, that is very embarrassing for everybody.
Well, I think the one thing about crafting comedy is it's just like, well, at least we know, well, if we get laughs, we're onto something.
Right.
But if you're
feedback.
like creating something like that, like you're like, what are the early drafts of that? Someone's like, what are you doing with your leg? Why'd you slap your leg 3 minutes in? I don't understand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you build that? I think I like Mime and Clown for that reason. Because I don't understand how people build those shows. Their brains work very differently from mine.
Of course.
And I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, especially, I just God bless people who figure out how to make that work as a career, especially in America. I don't know if Canada, I mean, I don't know if there's any mime schools in America right now. I just know Lecoq in France for clown.
Yeah.
And then what was this mime school called?
It's called L'École de Mime, the mime school.
They're all French.
Yeah, but I think it came from the Lecoq tradition. I think they're people that were trained by him. I went to clown school.
Did you?
In June 2019.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I went to the guru himself, which why am I blanking on the name right now? Because it's somebody that everybody knows. Ugh.
It's not Lecoq.
But it's the guy, because I'd been in Australia for so many years doing festival shows, and my favorite shows I found out had some connection to this guy. I'm gonna have to. It's nuts that I can't remember his name.
It'll come to you as you're talking about it.
Blame pandemic brain.
But so did you enjoy it? Were you good?
Here's the thing. And I can't believe how often I'm talking about girls on this podcast, but I did enjoy it. I had been looking forward to doing something like that for so long. And I felt like I needed to be. I put it off for years because I was like, I think I need more therapy. Because this guy teaches through what they call the negative method, which is essentially...
Sounds like our kind of thing. Let's have him on the pod.
He's not going to tell you what your clown is, because that's for you to discover, right? But he will tell you what your clown is not.
Oh, okay.
Right? So if you're up there and if you're in any way being inauthentic or just, it's exactly, no. So, he sits there with this big drum. Yeah, where we how? Okay, well, I'm like saying I'm trying to say 6 things at once, and one thing is I knew I couldn't go there until I had a certain amount of therapy to not cry if this guy banged his drum and went no, you know. And so I was like, okay, finally I got up the courage to go. The hilarious thing about it is, let's say I was getting on a plane to go there, let's say Saturday to start school on a Monday. My girlfriend broke up with me on a Thursday night.
Oh, wow.
That's perfect for clown
of
school.
4.5
Everyone
years.
should go to clown school right after a breakup.
Oh my God. So I was just like on the plane to Paris, just weeping, like really crying, and like, for 4 years relationship. So I just showed up like in the craziest state. And so so he sits there with a big drum, which he will bang when you're not, and essentially just get up in front of everybody and just go.
You wearing anything, a nose?
After about the first week, you get a costume, and how that happens is we're all standing there in a line. He wants you to just jump and turn around and like make a noise or something. So you just go like, or you do whatever you do, and everybody does it differently. And then he assigns you your character. And for me, he said, gymnastics teacher. I do a bad accent, but I'm doing my best. And so it took me like a day to realize that he meant gym teacher. Because I was like
see.
gymnastics.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
He just means gym teacher. So I got like, little like Adidas jacket and the whistle and the high socks and whatever. But there was a moment when I was running around doing whatever. He puts on like clown music, like this kind of circusy music. And you're meant to like, first you like run around the ring a few times, right? And you're like trying to get people interested, and then you stop and then you do your thing, whatever your thing is. But you're really just asked to go up there blind and just do it, right? And I was trying really hard not to lean on words in any way, because that's like what I do. So I'm like, really, I'm going to go out of my comfort zone. I'm not going to say anything. Also, I think clown should be like universal, right? You should be able to be from anywhere. Plus the whole school is very international, whatever. So I get up and then immediately, I barely did anything. I ran around to the music. I stopped. He hit the drum. Pah! And he goes, when the music stop, you look very sad. And I was like, oh, I am very sad. and then he was like, all right. And I think overall he was pretty gentle on me for those few weeks, because I think it was kind of obvious that I was sad. And so the class was like a 3-week class for me.
What was your clown's name? Did you get a name?
That's a good question. I probably would have had a name on like the last day, and I don't.
Can you connect to the clown? Is it still there?
No, I don't feel that I fully like experienced or developed my clown in that moment, but it was an amazing exercise, and I'm so glad I did it. Yeah. And I like met really cool people, and it was a trip.
Because you weren't like a theater kid.
No, not at all.
See, that's what's so interesting. I mean, I think it's so good because there's so many comedians, like, I'm from a theater background. So, like, I did clown in college or whatever. But I think it's always so great, people who don't start in the theater kid to visit it at a later point in life. And I think it's so fascinating.
I think everyone should be in a classroom, too, with someone sitting with a stick or a drum at some point. And, like, you're scared of them. You're genuinely scared of them. Because that was a big thing in theater school. We did Suzuki training and stuff like that. And it was like, that person has a stick, and you are, like... you're like scared of them seeing you for a fraud or something.
Yeah.
And it was a good. You learned something.
I think one of the sad things about, I had a lot of teachers that, looking back, maybe abusive, maybe manipulative.
Yeah.
But there was a time where I had elders in my life that I respected and was scared because I respected them so much, and I wanted to earn their respect.
Yeah.
And now it's really hard. I don't know the next time I'll have a teacher. I get scared of I hope a director wants to hire me or a comedy club wants to book me. But a teacher who I just admire for artistically, that I'm scared of and I want to do well for. So to do that again as an adult, go back in a place where I'm like, I'm going to give this teacher, especially in clown, where I have a cynical side that's like, this is bullshit. But to really force myself to... I respect this. I respect the drum. I'm scared of the drum.
I would encourage us all to go. I would go back again in a better state.
Let's book it right now.
And I would love to take more classes, because the thing is, I showed up at the kind of the final unit, and there were people. It's a 2-year program if you're doing the entire thing, and it's clown is just like a section of it. But they do, I don't know, mask and all various kinds of theater things. But I wanted to say about theater kids. Okay, so I'm devastated, right? It's post breakup. I attach way too much to my sense of self-worth in relationships, and so I'm like, oh, what is my life?
4 years is a long time.
4 years is also a long time. Also, we got together. My mom died early on in us getting together. So that grief was tangled up in there as well, I discovered, because it was kind of like, ooh. And then it was like, but at least I have a new home and a new family with this relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then so when that went, I was like, ooh, there's a lot of unprocessed.
How long were you dating when your mom passed away?
It was so new that I didn't think we'd be able to keep dating. So we'd only been together like a month and a half.
Wow.
Man, that is.
So I was like, okay, we got to break up, because I can't do all these things.
Did she go to the funeral?
Well, no, she was in Canada. My mom was in the U.S.
Okay.
And then right after that, I didn't know anything about grief. Right after that, I went ahead and did my tour in Australia, which was, the hardest thing I've ever done, because it was like, my mom just died. I'm in shock. I didn't know. I've never experienced like a death that big, I'm in shock. And then not only am I trying to deal with that, I'm not only trying to hold it together day to day, but I have to every night like bring the party to 100 people that have come to see my comedy show. So it was like, oh, here we go. It was just so difficult. So, okay, flash forward. it is. I'm going to clown school. As we've established earlier, I'm not a good sleeper. Certainly not a good sleeper when I'm like in this grief and thinking about all these things. I arrive in Paris, completely sleep deprived, crying, just probably cry all day Sunday. And then Monday, I'm like, okay, listen, just show up. People don't know you here. So yes, you know that you're very sad. All you have to do is just not cry from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., however long the class is, get through it. You're allowed to come home and have whatever feelings you want to have after clown school. Just go there. And yes, you know you haven't slept in a few days. They don't know that. Maybe you're just a quiet person. Maybe you look like this all the time. Who cares? Go ahead. And I was like, I can do this. I showed up at school. I'm like meeting people. Hey, how's it going? But what I didn't factor was I'm meeting theater people who aren't just you're not just able to go, oh, hey, welcome to our class. They're like, hey, how's it going? What's everything about your deal? And they've all been together for almost 2 years or a year or whatever.
Yeah.
So they're like psyched about all the fresh blood coming in. And
Yeah.
like they are hitting me in the face with this energy. And it's at any other moment of my life would have been lovely. And in this moment, I was just like, I can't do this right now. It was really a lot.
That's like Ashley Ray, who we had on. Remember, she went to musical theater camp after her dad drowned.
Right after
my
her,
God. It was a
right
similar
after her
thing.
dad drowned.
Holy shit. I got to
Yeah.
listen to that ep.
It was a good episode.
Yeah.
I was thinking, well, because my girlfriend and I, we've been together a little over a year, and I say now, I'm trying to figure out on stage, but like dating in your 30s, it's by the third date, all your grandparents have died. She's lost 2 grandparents in this year, and it's just like, that's just part of it. I mean, it's just like part of. There was a Zoom funeral. She went in person. I watched over Zoom, and I ate carrots.
You guys,
Were you on
You
this?
had the
You weren't-
camera turned off.
I had the
Yeah.
camera turned off.
That's
yeah.
fine.
Oh yeah, that's fine then.
But I thought it was so interesting. I wanted to say that the rabbi, he's like a very Florida rabbi. He just seems like a little bit like car salesman-y a little bit. But like one of the things her grandfather was in the Holocaust, survived the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And he said something like, it's fitting today is the funeral. It's 4 days after the anniversary of Kristallnacht. And I was like, I don't know if that's fitting. The anniversary of Kristallnacht, I don't know if that's, and it's 4 days after. How many days after before we no longer consider it?
I know.
I mean, if that's God's aim, if that's, he was like, yeah, you know what? 4 days after Kristallnacht.
Yeah.
It was just a strange.
Sometimes they
It
try to
doesn't-
make things fit
Yeah.
or work, and they don't really know what to do. And he thought he had an idea there.
He's like
and it
looking in
didn't
the
really-
calendar. He's
So
like,
he
well, in
hims-
5 days this thing happened, but 4 days before Kristallnacht.
So that guy that was speaking had survived the Holocaust, or the person who died?
The person who had died,
Yeah.
Tova's grandfather.
Right. I mean, I think it's fair enough that if you have any proximity to the Holocaust for the rest of your life, and or if you're the children or grandchildren of those people, you will relate everything back to the Holocaust.
Sure,
I know.
sure.
Like, it doesn't make a lot of logical sense to me,
Yeah.
but it's like, yeah, fair enough. You'd always be like, guess what? It's 219 days from Kristallnacht.
I like they go the long
And
way as
this, like,
opposed to the short way.
Yeah.
218.
This still matters. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you did clown school.
I need to
you've
Google
been-
the name because it's
Oh, go ahead.
unreasonable that I
Google
can't
it.
remember. Because this guy also, he trained, like so many people have gone to his, like Helena Bonham Carter went to this school. Sasha Baron Cohen is probably the most famous and easy to reference because it's
Yeah.
like, look at what he does.
If he came up with Borat,
Yeah.
he did the drum. He was like, "You are,
Yeah.
from Kazakhstan."
Clown.
I liked the second Borat movie. Did you
School.
watch it?
Yeah.
A lot of people complained.
Really? I mean, it was harsh, but it was funny.
It was
Yeah.
harsh. I think like anyone who like anyone who's like allergic to any kind of message like saw it as a very pro feminism movie and was upset about it. Like I think there was
Yeah.
a group of like comedy guys who loved Borat as kids.
I
who
see.
don't like any
interesting.
kind
Okay.
of whiff of feminism.
Yeah.
Were I felt it was a very like pro.
Yeah.
It was a very feminist movie.
It was.
And I think for any like
Do you
any
think they
guy who like
recognized that though, or they just were like something was off for them? Do you
I
know
think
what I mean?
something was off for them, or they just like it's just the kind of guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fuck
no, I
those
know.
Kind of guy.
guys.
Yeah.
I mean, like my stepfather, who's like very serious from Ohio. When he saw Borat, my mom always says when he saw Borat, the first movie, he
My mom
always says when he it was like a
saw
turning
Borat.
point in their relationship.
No.
When he saw Borat.
that he just laughed in a way that like she had never seen him laugh before.
Oh, wow.
Like that scene with the two naked men, where him and the other guy wrestling naked. Like I think for some people, it was just one of the funniest things.
Yeah.
they'd ever seen. You found the name?
Of course, Philippe Gaulier. You might have heard of
Oh,
Gaulier.
Philippe Gaulier.
But look at him. I mean, this is a clown
That's the kind of
master.
teacher you want.
That's amazing.
Clown master.
And like, do people
35.
exist like that now? Do you know what I mean? Like when those kind of people are gone, is there someone in like the ranks of clowning? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it
Did
feels
he seem
like an
a good
old
dude, or like sometimes those teachers, like Sandy Meisner was a classic acting teacher, the Meisner method. And like, you know, I hear stories now, like he had like an island that he would bring his favorite boys to.
Yeah.
My uncle was one of those boys that
Really?
he brought to his island. And
Is that true?
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was Meisner.
Oh yeah.
So
Meisner
what
was-
does your uncle have to say about that?
It's complicated with the uncle. I don't think he has any complaints about Sandy. I'm sure if we heard what happened, we'd go, well, we have some complaints.
Yeah.
But I don't think he had any complaints at the
Not
time.
okay now. Yeah.
But a lot of those, I've always had a thing with acting where like I do like mean acting teachers. I grew my teacher who passed away about a year ago. I mean, was very monstrous in many ways, and I also think horrible towards women. I think I got the like lighter end. I think in general in acting, in general in the world, but in acting too, like women have been treated just terribly.
Oh yeah.
So sometimes I see these teachers and I'm like, I don't know if it fits in with the way we view art now. I just like mean acting teachers in a way that I don't think they would survive in today's world. And I'm like, well, maybe that's for the best.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, nothing. I was just going to say about Gaulier, I think that he himself says he teaches through this negative method, right? But I do think that there is a method to it and a consciousness to it, because I really feel as though he saw that I was a bit fragile and probably was also like, this person's here for 3 weeks, not here for 2 years. Like he didn't go too hard with me in any way, but I did see him really push other students that he knew better. There was a time when it became uncomfortable, just once, now that I'm thinking it through. But for the most part, I think he was taking care of people with his feedback and kind of how far he would push someone and what they were capable of.
Yeah.
But that can easily go wrong. And there's this like cultish feeling to it all.
Yeah,
that
of course.
is a problem.
Look at him.
Those acting teachers, there's
Yeah.
culty things.
Yeah.
But I think it helps. It helps in some
It's
ways,
interesting.
and then it's abused.
It
and
does, like, you do, like, also, like, you remember, like, feeling, like, devastated. Like, now it's, like, a funny story, but you're, like, remember in the time, like, there were, like, moments you were so embarrassed or so, because it was so, it's like those classes are so, you're so vulnerable and so like, I'm doing this thing that's so uncomfortable, and then to feel like you do something wrong or get like they would put our acting teacher in grad school would put the notes for our like these like, and we would have to do weird performance art kind of stuff sometimes, and they put the notes on the like public wall. And they would be, and I remember my favorite one ever, and that it was devastating at the time. It makes me laugh so hard now. It said, we were doing some, I think it was a Noel Coward thing. And he said, adding props to this disaster only reveals you as the low-class poser that you are.
Wow.
oh my god!
And I was like, oh, wow. And it's like, I've always like, I remember seeing that and being like, and I think of it so often, and it makes me laugh. It is like,
Did you cry when you went home?
Why so hard?
I know.
See,
it's
but I love that. There's something in me that I'm like, yeah, break him
the
down.
low class poser that you are. I was like, okay.
But was that meant to? I can't get behind this. But was that meant? Was
You
that
haven't known
meant?
him for that long. He is a
He is a
low class.
low
Oh, he's
class
from Bainbridge,
poser.
New York. But what was that? If it was, I still don't think he did it the right way. But if it was meant to kind of reveal, listen, I think you think this about yourself. You're a
Yeah.
low class poser from Bainbridge, New York. Guess what? We all see it.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it's meant to do, but
You know
I
what?
don't like it at all.
No, I don't like it. I don't like that. He's changed actually a lot. It's interesting to speak to him now. He's like a totally different human. I think he things have changed and pushing people to the brink of things. It was interesting to see him. He felt like a different person in a way of like a gentler, like, and I know I'm not in his class, but just even talking to him in conversation, it was like, oh, he's way different than what he used to. That would never happen in the time. But I'm like, that wasn't that long ago. I mean, I was there in like 2008.
Yeah.
Do you think he was a good teacher though? Did he help make you a better actor?
Yes. Here's the thing. I don't know about makes a better actor. I thought it was good for me at the time for someone who was like didn't have a voice of like I felt very insecure about because I was going into a grad program and everyone else had BFAs and things like that, and I had no like training of acting things. So I was approaching everything with like I'm not worthy. I'm like that kind of thing. So I feel like there was a toughness thing there that eventually I was able to feel a lot more confident in things and in my ability. And I was thankful just like with the amount of like stuff that we had to do there. I felt like it was like I would never go and do it now. But at that time in my life when I was 23 and I was like, I don't know anything. It was helpful
now.
then.
No one could say anything like that and it affect me as it could when I was 18. I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm a low class poser. It wouldn't do it. It wouldn't do it anymore. Yeah. And I think that's one of the sad things about
it. But it is fucked up because then you're like there's a weird thing where it's like a very vulnerable time in people's lives.
Yeah.
And there's like a very fine line of like
very easy to take advantage of people in that state.
Course.
Yeah. And of course, like a lot of times, listen, I didn't go to theater school. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just like talking now, but I do think that a lot of times like people in positions that are teaching, sometimes they're people who have failed at what they're trying to teach, or
plenty
failed at what they're teaching, or what there's some tragedy or sense of failure in their own lives. So it'd be pretty easy to have all these vulnerable students looking at you wide-eyed and abuse your power. I think it just happens. It happens so often. Especially
for me now, if I ever like got into acting teaching, or I always have a fantasy with a masterclass, part of me is like, I want people who aren't cut out for this to save themselves now. I think it would be tough because I certainly know in acting class some people you're like, this is never gonna happen. Yeah. And like, you gotta get out of here because this you'll throw your life away. I know the people.
Yeah. You know the people. You out day one.
Do you think though? Okay, how much? Do you think they're really throwing their life away though? Even if someone is a bit delusional, right? And they're like, I want to be an actor, and you can see it's never gonna happen for them. If they enjoy the process the entire way, and then die, and they die with hopes and dreams. Maybe tomorrow would have been the day that I booked that audition, whatever. Is that a waste? Is that a failure?
Also, I agree. And also...
you didn't let me answer. Yes.
I don't even... you also said I agree to truly a question, but...
I think it's an...
but you're saying maybe it's...
But also them being in this thing... It might lead them to something else, and if they were kicked out on the thing, it might not. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Then here's what I say is like, I'd be like, okay, don't pursue like TV shows in New York. Go to a small town and do a Death of a Salesman for a town that loves and respects you.
Be the coolest guy that's ever done Death of a
But
Salesman.
like, I was watching Curb Your Enthusiasm the other day, and there was just like there was a young, probably like a 16-year-old, and maybe she'll grow up to be a great actress someday. Yeah. But I was watching, and I was like, this person's not talented. And I know that like they're trying in the scene, and I bet like their friends, they saw them on Curb and were like, "You're great, you did a great job." And I just like can see their whole future.
Hey, she's on Curb.
Yeah, she's doing better than me. Sure, she's doing better than me, but
she's never gonna make it. She's already on Curb Your Enthusiasm, Gianmarco.
She's clearly someone's daughter. She is clearly someone's daughter. Whether the real person daughter, but I just like I felt sadness because I saw her like trying.
Right.
And I'm like, you're bad.
This is the thing. This is what's so terrifying about clown school acting, anything. It feels as though there's nothing more embarrassing than being witnessed trying.
Yes.
Either you're doing it or you're not. But like, it's embarrassing to see someone try and not quite make it for them and for us watching.
And a clown, how do you know if a clown? It's even the question of, are you a good clown? Are you a bad clown? Is it interpretation? Is even looser? But so someone could be clowning.
I can tell you it is painfully obvious in that room.
You could feel it.
Well, very few people, at least in that scenario, are going to succeed. Because when we got to the clown part, like morning we're playing games, we're doing theater stuff, whatever, and then in the afternoon everyone's a bit tired. It was a historic heat wave in France. It was like over, I'm going to say 40 degrees. That's Celsius, but whatever that is in Fahrenheit, very, very, very hot. No AC. It's after no AC. It's after the lunch break. Everyone is tired, sweaty, and to get up and try to make everybody laugh in that moment. It's like it either works or it doesn't. Most of the time it's not working. But when it works, you can't articulate why necessarily, but you all kind of agree like, yeah, okay, this is funny. We're laughing. This is interesting to us.
You'd be a tremendous clown.
I could see it.
Someday.
He's very funny.
I don't feel like I don't think of myself funny in that way, but
I don't know if I'm silly
I'm not
enough.
opposed to it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm silly enough. Tova the other day was saying like, there's like I'm not silly. I'm like funny.
Yeah.
She didn't mean that as she said like I could be silly. When I get like stoned, I get like a little sillier.
That's me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like as a comedian, I
Yeah.
mean, I write out. I'm very didactic.
Yeah.
It's very clear.
Me too.
And
I'm like
I
a funny
think it's-
teacher.
Yeah. I
That's
hear
pretty
that.
much it.
I hear that.
When,
But you're silly. You're
well,
silly, Billy.
thank you. When you said the thing about the trying and making people uncomfortable, I think that's what it is. Why people are so weird about actors or comics or things in general in the world, because they're like, if I don't see you on like a Netflix special or see you on Broadway or in a thing, I don't know what to do with you. Like, what are you doing? Like you like, it's almost like you have to have a thing to claim to be like
that they consider success, right?
yes. So
Otherwise,
that's
yeah.
an interesting thing. That
Otherwise, they don't know if you're crazy.
Well, this
Yeah.
is back to the idea of
The
delusion
trying,
and wasting
yeah.
your life. That was a genuine question. I'm wondering. I think if someone's content, then
I think there's too many people exploiting. There's just too many
You're thinking-
abusers
yes,
in all the realms.
Pay to-
Yes.
anything
Pay to
pay to
play,
play.
yeah.
Garbage.
Yeah, it's garbage.
Garbage, but that's how I started my acting career. Was pay to play, meeting cast and directors. That's how I started.
Yeah.
So I got my first TV credits and my commercial, and so I was able to use the scam to my advantage. But I know the people that are fucking, getting fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's a real. None of these. No teachers are paid enough. Period.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I do feel like some of these teachers, their job should be if someone's giving them money to pursue a profession, and they know deep in their heart that someone needs to readjust their
Yeah.
expectations.
That is egregious.
That is the responsibility.
I think so too.
And as
Yeah.
all these colleges offer, more and more colleges are offering, not Mime School, but in America, there's now Emerson's offering a comedy major. There's musical theater majors, acting majors. There's all this stuff. And they just, the amount of money these colleges are charging are so egregious that I think there has to be some kind of oversight that does not exist currently.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in with a hot opinion I wasn't sure I had until right this second. But comedy major, this should not be happening.
But why? See, I think if I put a curriculum together,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 4 years is a lot. But 2 years, I feel like I could, there's so many things we could cover, but I would also cover TikTok. I'd cover social media. I'd cover a mailing list. I'd
Damn.
cover
I'd like to learn
making a
these
set.
things. But in that case, it's business. It's a business major, which is fine because business is unfortunately a huge part of comedy. And even like you said, like moving these tickets in Syracuse, that's on you to figure out. That's not even comedy anymore. That's marketing. It's some kind of strategy.
But you
It's
can
like,
teach comedy. I think you can. Listen,
I think
comedy
you
is, stand-up is
can,
newer than
but-
acting. Acting's been around for forever, and there was a long time where no one taught acting. Stella Adler would always say, you're in an acting company, and first you learn how to hold a spear, and that's your first acting lesson. But like stand-up comedy is newer. Eventually, people will, just like with acting, come up with systems and formulas, and they will not be perfect, but they'll help you learn.
I think I still want comedy to be like the last bastion where anybody can just get up and go for it and make it work. I feel like making it work, like being successful in stand-up or figuring out how to be on stage and make people laugh, part of that process is everything you have to figure out on your own before you get there.
I agree. But I think that's what acting used to be too, and maybe it is bastardized right now, and maybe these BFA programs will eventually fail because enough people will have gone to them and then go into real estate in 4 years
Because then
that people start doubting them, and maybe that's good.
The risk would be then you're like, oh, these three schools have the best stand-up comedy.
It's just
like,
we don't need
thing.
more barriers
Yeah,
and
yeah.
bullshit. I don't know. Why is this bothering me so much?
No. It's I see what
It's
see
a
what you're
barrier,
saying
but
too.
it's also
but
an
you're saying
entry
like, how
point.
can we
Like
help
if
people?
you don't know, there was a time people always say like older comedians, they're like, I didn't know that was something you could do, and now people kind of know that there are ways to get into this.
I think I just don't want to hear any more from rich kids. I don't want to hear from anybody who has the time. You have to put down your mic. Yeah. Who has the time and money to go to a comedy college?
It's not their fault. Their parents had money.
No, but I mean, it is one of those things
It's not
where
their fault. It's not
people
just
have been
their fault their
figuring
parents
it
have
out.
money,
People have
but-
been figuring it out for a long time and finding their voices and finding out what works for them and how they could do it and get into it.
Well, look at me. I found comedy. This was not the plan. I was a musical theater kid, so I found it later.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, but people go to college for all sorts of things. Get rid of college then.
No,
Yes.
I
for
hate college.
sure.
Yeah.
The problem is
Yeah,
it costs
get
too
rid
much
of
money.
college.
At
Why
the end of the
are
day,
we
it's
even
just
talking
business
about
to
any
win.
of this? Get rid of college.
Get rid of
Yeah.
college.
It's
That's the official
insane
position.
that college
I'm there
exists.
too. I'm there too.
So, real quick before we get to the final
but
thing.
I like. Wait, hang on. We had like some actual tension here, which was fun and exciting.
Oh yes, about the rich thing.
Yeah, or just the
Well-
thing, because you push back really hard. I'm like, I'm gonna have a hot take. No comedy for anybody, and you're like, no,
Because-
there needs to be a structure and there's a way of
Because-
learning.
Because I do think like it doesn't. Schools aren't inherently bad. Like people always shit on comedy, the stand-up comedy classes. And I think they do so because a lot of them are taught by people who did not succeed in comedy.
Exactly.
B, people go, and I think they do this too easily. They go like, well, you can't teach comedy. You can't help anybody. And it becomes this thing of like, oh, there's no way to help anyone in an artistic sphere. And I don't think that's true. I
Yeah.
think it can be very individualized. And like, if someone came to me and wanted help on their act, I think I could like talk them through certain things. I think at a certain point, there's a letting go and there's a like, here's just thoughts. Consider this. Here's a punchline. It might not be right for what you're going for. But I think there's a lot you can contribute to someone and help them. It's one of these things where like, I don't want to do it because
Yeah.
I want to work on my own shit.
I agree with you there, and I'm all about learning. Like, definitely, yeah. As you were saying that, I was like, take a look at my act, punch it up. You know, like that would be.
I'd love to have a
that'd be
drum
great.
while people were doing stand-up and go, no.
I mean, the problem is that's what the silence feels like. I mean, there is the
yeah.
built-in drum when it comes to
Yes.
stand-up. Oh fuck, I kind of lost it. I was like, maybe my issue is I think there is a certain amount of I'm going to say grit and determination. There's a certain amount that you need to make it in stand-up comedy, I think, or kind of deal with how harsh the rejection can be and everything, that if you need someone to hold your hand at the beginning and go, let me show you what a microphone looks like, and this is how you do this, and don't forget to put the stand to the side, and your first show is going to be with all your friends and family. That's fine, but I just think
You think first time should be at the Apollo?
I think there's a toughness required, and you're maybe not helping someone by gently holding
I
their
don't disagree
hand.
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's a certain degree of, it's hard to tell with comedy where like, I feel like it's obviously especially with stand-up, there was men kind of setting the tone of like what everything was. And so it was harsh and mean. I always love your bit
Yeah.
about killing and murdering.
Oh, right.
Because I use
yeah.
that language a lot.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I was like, oh yeah, that is pretty violent.
Yeah.
That's how I describe me doing well. I
Yeah.
murdered.
I'm like, we connected.
But I do think there's also this thing where like as stand-up has become more like welcoming and kinder and maybe like kind of supportive mics and whatnot, where like there is also a degree where I feel like delusion is fostered. Delusion
right.
is supported.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the balance is between like being welcoming and especially like being open in a way where people from all sorts of backgrounds and everything can come into stand-up and try it, and a mix with not fostering delusion.
Yeah.
I remember I was writing with a comic named JP, and he was talking about performing at Catch a Rising Star. And in the urban comedy scene, in the black comedy scene, like talk about like you gotta fucking be
Deliver.
strong in yourself.
Yeah.
And he was talking about going and Catch a Rising Star, and he bombed. And he went backstage, and Tracy Morgan said that he went up to Tracy. Tracy was like, "Don't get that bomb on me." And he said,
Oh my God.
and he had bombed. He had bombed.
But
and
at least he was straightforward. That's how a lot of us feel, but we're not
Yes.
going to say it out
But
loud.
yes. And he said he went to an alley. He went to the alleyway and cried and cried and cried. And there's a part of me that I'm like, yeah, that's great. I remember once I was at a Brooklyn show, Whitney Chanel Clark, great comic. Someone went up, kind of bombed, and I was still very new in comedy. And this kind of comic bombed, and the DJ played like a womp 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 womp. And then Whitney came up and she was hosting, and she was like, "Guys, I'm so sorry for that. I'm so sorry about that." And I was like, "God damn!"
Yeah.
But there's another part of me. I'm like, "Fucking good."
Yeah.
Well,
that
yeah.
person's
Yeah.
going to decide, are they going to go home and work on this shit or not?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
You know, even as I was saying though, as I was like, I don't think it helps to like gently hold your hands and say, this is how the mic works. I couldn't help but think of Joe Firestone's lovely special. What's it called?
Oh,
On Peacock.
Yes, I don't know. Remember the
It's
name
not
of it.
too
Yeah.
late.
Something like that. Something
like
about
that.
time, in which she teaches seniors how to do comedy. And
Yeah.
that was freaking beautiful. And
Yeah.
it was very gentle and sweet. And this is what a mic looks like. And this is how you approach the mic stand. And I loved that.
Well, I would argue this, that I do think, I wish there was kind of a separation of hobby and professional.
That's where I was going to go next.
Where I sometimes think like, as like a working comic, there's sometimes people that I'm like, if this is your hobby, that's fine. But I wish you wouldn't be going up at the stand.
Yeah, like don't
Because
take our
I'd
time.
don't take our
away.
time. Don't take
Yeah.
our money. I mean, like these spots again. These aren't where I'm making my living per se, but it's like, can there be some kind of separation? Because then I won't be mad. Then I won't be like, fuck. Why are you on this show?
I know.
Why are you doing this?
You can only hope and I mean, eventually they do drop away. But that frustrates me as well. There needs to be a difference between like, you think this is a cute hobby. Meanwhile, this is our fucking life.
Yeah.
Because like Joe Firestone like that was fun, but then I think of those seniors like, oh, now I'm gonna go take this spot. Then it'd be like, okay, it's not cute anymore. You're not that good. We were giving you a lot of benefit of doubt here.
They're going to bed by 7:30. Don't worry about them.
yeah.
They're not taking your spots.
But just I wanted, before we go to the final segment, now that you've been in Canada, you were in Canada for a long time, and now back in America.
Back in America.
Are you happy? Do you miss Canada?
I do miss Canada, and I am happy.
Do you feel Canadian? And do you feel like I'm a
think
Canadian?
I do in the way that's where I started comedy, and that's where I did comedy for, I don't know, more than 10 years. So it feels like a part of me. Also, every time I travel, people just assume I'm Canadian, I guess because I'm polite and a little bit quiet or something. Whatever the stereotypes are of Canadians and Americans, people just assume I'm Canadian. No, as I'm discovering, there is no country to which you can run to escape what feels like rising global fascism. You know, Canada has its own issues we're all very well aware of.
You've always
But-
been a big fan of Justin Trudeau's Halloween costumes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, that guy's funny. But there is a sense in Canada where things feel slightly more sane, and there is like a greater social safety net, which I appreciate.
Why did you come back?
Coming to the United States.
Yeah.
My manager forever has been like, you really need to live in the U.S. And I'm just giving it a try. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We're all, we're on a train to somewhere. We have however much longer we have in this world.
Yeah.
Sure.
Why not just give it a try?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Plus, my girlfriend's here.
Sure.
I didn't realize this. Just keeps happening to me. Yeah.
Is it going? You feel good here? Is it stand up? You feeling? I mean, there's a lot of great stand ups here.
Yeah, I really have. To be honest, I've yet to plug into the scene because I've been kind of back and forth and on the road a bit. But what I've seen, I love, and I'm shockingly happy. I'm adjusted to the city life pace. I feel small town in my heart. I feel Endicott, New York in my heart, and yet. I'm loving the bustle. I'm loving the hustle.
Good,
I'm loving
good.
the people.
Well, let's go to our This Has Gotta Stop.
This has gotta stop.
This Has Gotta Stop. Good. That's a good music cue. Douglas Goodhart. Do you have a This Has Gotta Stop?
Okay. I thought about this today, and it's obvious that I thought about this in the shower. The relentless demands of the body have got to stop.
Yeah.
It's too much. The constant eating,
Sure.
which of course lends itself to dishes. Just everything involved with what it is to scrounge food for yourself every day. It won't stop. The need to sleep.
Sleep for me. When I've just been thinking about it more, it's just like this is the hardest part of my life, that I'm not a good sleeper. Being with someone who is a good
Yeah.
sleeper, it's
also-
like, oh,
What if you could just power down, sleep mode on the computer? So you've closed your eyes, you're resting, and you wake up refreshed.
there was a
dream.
James Bond villain where like his invention. This was one of the older James Bond. He had like a mask that let him only sleep 2 hours a night.
Oh my
And
God.
with that, he was able to take over the world.
Yes.
Like that's all that you
Like if
needed.
it was a button and you could just, Yeah.
I have fantasy. I'm always like, oh, if I never had to sleep again, first I'd catch up on all my TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'd read, which I know that's not true. But I'm always like, I'd read books then.
I know we all have that.
Then
dream.
I'd read books. If
Yeah.
I had 8 more hours in the day,
Yeah.
I'd start reading.
Eventually,
Yeah.
there'd be time for books. Yeah, the relentless demands of the body, everying about it.
Body hair
the
for me is a
toenails,
big one.
Body hair. I was gonna say
Yeah.
too.
Just
Body
keeps
hair.
growing.
Just
keeps
Just keeps
growing.
growing.
And as you age, fellas, it just pops up everywhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It just keeps growing.
Yeah.
Do you have shoulder hair and stuff?
I have a little bit. I have chest hair, and then I have a little like up here. Sometimes I shave.
Talk to me about being a man with chest hair. What's the fashion in chest hair? Does it change, or is it just like, I'm a man, I have body hair, deal with it?
Yeah, I don't have enough. You have a lot more chest hair than me.
I have a lot. It's not like Steve Carell thick. I'm just
Okay.
hairy kind of all over. I used to be self-conscious, partly because my mom, horrible, would say like, if I wore a tank top, she's like, no one wants to see all that hair, and I'd be like, this is you Jewish bitch. But
Yeah, that doesn't seem fair.
But then there's lots of women who like love hairy guys.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
so that made me feel. I used to be very self-conscious. I have hair all along like my butt and all
Yeah.
that stuff. When I was like when I was in like high school, I remember seeing Green Day in concert, and Billy Bob, what's his name?
Billy Bob
He would
Thornton.
What's his name?
Billy
Joe?
Billy
Joe?
Billy Joe
Billy
Armstrong.
Joe would moon the
Armstrong.
audience, and he had a smooth butt. And I remember like, oh, I want that butt for
That's
me.
so cute. I love it.
There's always that thing
Yeah,
like
yeah,
where
yeah.
I'm like, am I attracted to this butt or do I want it on me?
Yeah.
But I was always self-conscious about that. But then you
Yeah.
meet women who for me, that's what it took for me to be like, okay, then fine.
Right.
If whoever I'm with is into this.
What about your chest hair situation, and how do you feel about it?
I feel fine. I don't. It doesn't feel like a burden. It feels like a good amount.
Okay.
And it doesn't feel. I have noticed some grays coming in here and
And
there.
the chest hair?
Just a couple, but it's pretty like it's been pretty much the same forever.
Something about the gray pube is one of those where I'm like,
yeah.
death is coming.
I literally found one like last week. Yoink.
Yeah.
And the thing about the gray, they have to come in thicker and weirder.
Yeah.
Like they're not
get
normal. They're not
once
just
in a
like,
while
no, I'm gray. They're like, I'm gray.
Yeah.
Get out of
Yeah.
here.
I think I will die when my hair, if it starts getting more grays. I don't like it. I don't like it.
You could die.
I think
You
we'll
have-
look.
you have-
See, here's the thing. I think we'll look great on you though, because you have dark, dark. I was gonna say dark features. That's not a thing people say, but like dark hair.
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
Your
Yeah.
complexion, gray, salt and pepper king.
Maybe good.
Yeah.
I just hate, this just, I'm 33 now. This last year and a half was the first time I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting older
Mm-hmm.
and I can't stop it
Mhm.
and I'm living through it. I don't know. It's just like, there was some new level of whether it be body pain or everything. And I'm like, yeah,
This is what happens.
this is what happens and I'm in it now.
Did you feel? I feel like when I first turned 30, it was almost like this first turn 30 because I'm going to continue to turn 30
Yeah.
and no one can stop me. There was this sense of like, oh, the things people have been saying are correct. Like
Yeah.
somehow it's just like delusional in my 20s. Like whatever, I'm never going to die. You guys
Yeah.
are wrong. You don't know. And then I can't even think of specific things, but somehow when I turned 30, I was like, oh, I feel like I just understood a certain amount of like societal wisdom.
I
Of
think
course.
both things, and I also think with that, I also thought like, oh, how boring. Like that you're like, it's true, and now
Yeah.
I'm talking about it, and I'm talking to younger people about it, and they're like, what the fuck? And I'm like, this boring cycle to death.
Well,
Like,
you do start to care and you want to like trade tips on
Yeah.
like, again, taxes or whatever bullshit
Yeah.
that we're forced to deal with as adults.
This has got to stop.
This guy's
Living.
not aging. Living, sure.
The relentless demands of the body.
All right, well, let's end with something. One nice thing, a blessing.
Your blessing.
You better count your blessing. Russell, do you have a blessing?
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like this is very long.
I'll reach out to Douglas, see if he can make a shorter one.
It's
for me.
very
no.
preachery at the end of
Yes.
that. I loved it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got new neighbors like maybe a month and a half ago, and this is a small thing, but I really appreciate it. I feel like anytime I run into them, they're so nice, they're lovely, but it's quick convos. But what I think is sometimes when I'm coming back into the door, I hear that they're leaving. I think they're very respectful of like, we don't have to run into each other all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like in my hallway, it's just me and one other. There's only 2 apartments on the top floor, and so I feel like we have a good system going of we're respectful of like one of them is in the hall with their dog or something. I'll wait a little bit and then do it. So we don't have to run into each other unnecessarily. And I don't think we like each other. It's just a thing of like, let's just keep it, moving in a nice way.
Yeah,
Does
you
that
don't need
make
to say
sense?
you don't need to say hi 7 times a day.
Yeah. And it's like I'm not opposed to running into them, but I just feel like it's a respect thing of like they're like, oh, he's in. we can leave. You know what I mean? Like that. If you hear it,
A
if you hear someone
well-defined
in the hall,
relationship is a wonderful thing.
And maybe I'm putting that my own thing onto because I'm doing that for them. But I feel like I've heard it happen a few times where my door is closed and their doors opened right after, and I was like, they heard me and they were being respectful. You know,
That's
I like
a
that.
great one.
Yeah,
That's a great blessing.
so I like them.
I want to say, I hope this doesn't come off as self-aggrandizing.
Oh, God.
So this episode's coming out December 23rd. We're recording this now.
Well, happy holidays, everybody.
Happy
That's why I'm wearing
holidays.
this sweater.
Oh,
yes,
perfect.
it's currently September 10th, 2001.
He loves that joke.
I have to think of more dates. I don't know any more historical dates.
You could
I want
say
to do
December
before
6th,
Kennedy's.
1941.
Which one?
Before Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor. Wow, good for you.
Yeah. Well,
I'll learn some more history. Or that Mexico. What was that army called?
The Zapatista Army.
The
So
Zapatista.
all I know is it's 1994, so we got to find a date in there. I think it was December. Anyway.
So I did a headlining weekend at Caroline's. I'm in the middle of it, and like whenever the checks, one of the hard things about headlining is you really eat the check spot, and can be brutal.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I feel like sometimes I never get them back to where I got them right before the check spot. It's just so brutal. But I always try to make a really big effort to just say tip your staff, but then I go a little bit further. I'm like, go for 25%. Do 25 tonight. Do 30. And sometimes the audience shuts down. They were applauding for the waiter. I was like, give them 30%, and it stopped. But it's an easy thing to do. Sometimes you're just doing it just to like reset the room a little bit. But I always feel like I feel really good because sometimes after the show, the server will come and be like, thanks for the extra shout out tonight. We got good tips. We got better tips than normal.
Oh, that's
Good.
fun.
And like, it's a really nice, it's no sweat off my back. But it just feels really nice to feel like, oh, cool. We're all doing this together. And, it's always nice to feel that connection with the servers because they're helping you with the show. And it just feels good.
Yeah, that's
It
awesome.
just feels good. It's headlining is still newish. And it's kind of like, oh, I can set the tone for the staff's evening tonight by my behavior. And if I'm cool
you
and
gotta
chill
imagine
and
some
nice,
comics come in. It's like
Absolutely.
the worst
You hear the
behavior.
stories.
Like
You
you
hear
would
the
just like
stories.
people adapting to the energy and being
Yeah.
like, yeah, fuck yeah, like just kind of like crazy.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Crazy. See, I used it when I shouldn't
Crazy.
have. Yeah.
but you were talking about a male comic in your head.
Yeah.
I think in that. So that's okay.
Yeah, fair enough. That's one of my favorite things to do too, because it's like people just need a little push sometimes or be reminded that it's possible. I love, if I'm doing like a charity gig or if it's at all possible, I love to just shake people down. Like I've definitely been on stage before being like, hey, we're getting money for this place tonight. And I'll be like, sir, that's a nice looking watch. You got another $10 to kick in? And like I've literally like rustled up money in the room because
Ooh, I love
think
it.
it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And people have it.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's very all that stuff is so psychological. Like
Yeah.
in that moment, you could get them to give a lot more.
Yeah.
That's fun. I'm gonna do.
try to literally get cash out of their hands and then give it to the servers.
I once thought I was gonna be like, at the end we calculate whoever left the lowest tip. I'm gonna bring you on stage and roast you.
Oh,
And
That's
just as a
funny.
threat, and
Yeah.
then see if it helped.
I bet it would actually.
I bet it would too.
Oh, I bet you could $100 difference if it was like a big show.
Yeah.
Not these shows I'm doing. So what? Do you have a blessing?
Well, yes, a blessing. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I was
Yes.
like, remind me what the name of the segment is. Just in general, I've been trying to pay attention, and it's really worth doing every day, to how many things are going right at every moment. Because really, we're kind of living in a series of things perfectly working out, and it's just really, it's more, it's easier and more obvious to kind of, this thing didn't work today, or this train's late, or my phone fell, whatever it is. But so many things are constantly going right that it's actually kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about this sometimes, like whenever I go down to the subway and I get the train, like right when it leaves, I'm
How
like,
fun
oh,
is that?
remember this.
Yeah.
Because that one time that you don't get the train, just know that you made a couple
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Remember the good ones.
Yeah.
What station is it? Because I'm still so new to New York, but I feel like the A and C trains go there. Maybe it's Union.
Union Square, 14th.
Which one has the little? Yes, I think it is. Which one has the little? I don't know if they're brass or whatever. The little sculpture people.
I believe
Yes,
that's
I
14th.
believe that's 14th.
14th
I'm
and 8th.
still so new to New York and so wide-eyed that one time I popped out at that subway and I was like, oh, look at these little guys.
Yeah.
And it was like I mean, again, okay, public art, what a blessing.
Yeah.
Public art is such a wonderful thing, and it's such a hard thing because everything else is so bad. It's hard to imagine justifying spending any money on anything that isn't to fix the trains.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. I love the art.
It's
now all the
whimsical.
money's going to those fucking screens, and the big screens in the subway that.
Oh yeah.
And I got
Wait,
to tell
what
you,
are the big screens in the subway?
there's screens that like tell you when the next subway. Like
Yes.
there's the big, or
Yeah.
there are ads, and I feel a thrill every time I see that someone smashed one of those fucking screens up.
Oh, Gianmarco.
I want to do it too. I hate the subways. Are you
Really?
still okay with the subways?
I'm okay with the subways, but also this is my first experience. I don't know what to expect. I don't have an imagination for how they could be better.
Yeah.
Yet.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think yes, there's a corrupt thing leading it. But I think the design of it, like sometimes when, like you're saying, when things work out, you're like, what an amazing thing. I got so far.
Yeah.
And 1 million people a day are taking it. So like the design is there, but yes, it is a corrupt entity.
You know, in
that's
Japan, once a train was 15 minutes late and they went to the news to apologize. That if the train's late, every passenger
Okay.
gets a slip so they can show it to their boss to
Yeah.
prove that the train fucked up. Can you imagine if they give us a slip every time the train fucked up?
I mean, that is
Be a billion slips.
it's a thrilling part of living
We all
in New
take
York.
advantage of it, though.
Yeah.
We've talked about this.
Have
We
you
all
used that as a lie
and
yet?
You start using it as a
trains.
lie. The trains, and you're
Trains.
I haven't had to yet, but I can always do the I'm new to New York and I didn't really
like,
calculate the.
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I love because you were on time today, which was good work. But you do the thing where you tell me like I'm leaving at this time, and I'm like, Russell, I don't care when you leave. I care
I'm just
when
telling
arrive.
you. I'm just telling
But
you.
you're telling me to mean like, hey, look.
Well, I'm telling
putting
you.
in
I'm
the
telling
work.
you like
Yeah.
this. I'm telling you. I'm leaving a huge window, and if anything goes wrong, I don't care. I left. I put in a thing because
did my
if
part.
it all goes right, I'm going to be here 30, 40 minutes early. But if it goes wrong, that's my. You have a limit when you're in New York of like how much time for what a thing is worth
Sure.
to like do.
I
you know?
think I showed up 5 minutes late. Did that? But to me, that feels on time because that's just how
That's
my sense
fine.
of
For
time
me,
works.
yeah.
I think what we had the other situation was our
Oh,
guest came
I
like
screwed up.
15 minutes early, and Russell was 15 minutes late. So like we get.
I thought I got the
And you're
time
just
wrong.
and it's that
chilling.
on our
awkward thing where we're
last.
chilling, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't want to talk too much because we're going to talk about stuff we want to talk about on the podcast.
We had a great conversation with him, Buddy the Rat.
Buddy the Rat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great. That was the last episode. Anything you want to plug?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Although if this is coming out December 23rd, I don't know, but I do have a monthly online show called DeAnne Smith and Acquaintances. I'm keeping the online shows alive. It's very fun.
I've been doing the corporate Zooms, and the Zooms have been coming back for me.
Oh wow,
recently,
that's so cool. Yeah.
I've been doing them, so that's great.
I
It's
mean, I'm enjoying it. It's once a month on Fridays. So just like, I don't know, Google around or find me and I'll tell you where. And I have a monthly show in New York. I don't know what the dates for 2022 yet are, but it's at Union Hall and that one's called DeAnarchy. Very fun.
You don't have anything to plug?
No specific dates. Follow me on Instagram. Russell J. Daniels. Uncle Function shows will be starting up again in January. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably.
I'm going to be at the Philly Punchline December 30th through January 1st. And then just find me online. We got some dates
Oh.
coming up.
Yeah.
We got the Syracuse Funny Bone.
Woo!
Gonna
When's
meet
that?
you
Is that
there.
in January?
The Syracuse, it's like April. We did it in the future so I can
Oh,
get
wow.
these tickets.
Oh, you
Listen.
got plenty
So-
of time.
I forgot about real stand-up. Guys, I'm also going to be in Detroit. I'm going to be in Fort Wayne. I'm going to be in
Where in Detroit?
Indianapolis. Comedy Castle.
Comedy Castle.
Yeah.
Comedy Castle's great. You ever
I've
been
never,
there?
No, never.
Good time.
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
That's where I got that. I'm still working on this job. I was in Royal Oak, and I asked the host. I was like, "Is there some more place to get a good salad around here?" And he said, "Yeah, it's a pretty liberal area." And it made sense. It made sense. And it's just like I'm trying to build
Yeah.
this how did these things come together? Because
Right.
you don't hear conservatives be like it's God, guns, and kale. It's just so I'm trying to figure out.
yeah.
It was interesting.
It's a pretty liberal
Oh,
area.
that's very funny.
Yeah. And it's a good area. Comedy Castle is fantastic. You're gonna have a
I
great
can't
time.
wait. Yeah.
What's your social medias again? It's
DeAnne_Smith. Most places are just DeAnne Smith. Listen, I'm the most successful DeAnne Smith there is. So give it a Google.
we'll tag it in this, and Russell, me. And remember, just like the subways in New York, they're moving one direction, and that is downhill. This is the downside.